Hello everybody, welcome back to the Spoked Wheel YouTube channel. We are back today with episode 10 of the Andy Schleck Pro Cyclist Mode series, and we've got an exciting episode today because we have two days of racing, I think, that we're going to cover today. This first is a mostly flat race in France that is going to be more about just getting through it, maybe doing some teammate work to get XP. We'll see what the team wants. But then our second race of the video is our second objective of the season. And it's one that we've been looking forward to for quite a while. It's our first real mountainous day of racing, I think, in the career, which of course is very well suited to Andy's rider build. I think it's a very good opportunity as a 1-1 race to potentially get our first victory of the career. So we're going to try our best on that one. I think it'll be a ton of fun to play whether or not it goes our way, because we'll finally be able to really use Andy's climbing in a course that features a bunch of mountains rather than just hilly parkour. So I'm really looking forward to that one. We'll have to see what sort of teams show up, whether or not we get World Tour Pro Conti teams, but even if we do, with that 76 mountain rating that we currently have, I think we'll have a decent chance to fight for the victory. We might be a little bit short on support from teammates, but hopefully we'll be strong enough on the day to overcome that and ride well and go for the win. So let's get into the racing. First up, we'll get this flatter race out of the way, and then once that's done, we'll get into the main event of the video. Alright, so we're a few kilometers into our first race of the day at this point. Our team would like us to ride at the head of the group for 25 kilometers, so we're in the process of doing that. It took a while to get started on that objective because a really large breakaway went up the road, and then some of the French Pro Conti teams were riding pretty hard at the front of the peloton to bring it back. So I waited until that whole process had played out, I guess, to actually come to the front and start doing my work. It seems like the other teams are happy with this breakaway now at this point, so we should be able to get that objective done. Probably won't be enough to get us anywhere near leveling up, but never a bad thing to pick up more XP, especially ahead of our second objective of the season. So we'll continue to ride on the front to get our 25 plus kilometers, and then we'll just kind of ride it in. You can see from the profile and the finish, it's not going to be one for us today, but we'll just try and get as much XP as we can from doing our teammate role, and then we'll just see what happens in the finish. So we're into the final 10 kilometers here, race number 1 for the day. I think in the end we rode for about 35 kilometers at the head of the peloton, so our team should be nice and happy with that. The racing has actually been pretty hectic here in the final third. Things have split up a fair amount. We're in a peloton that's currently 30 riders strong at the moment. There's not a ton of launching pads really to try and get away, so we'll just do our best to maintain position and stay up here. Maybe we'll follow Benny and Girmai's wheel. I think Nippo might be riding for him today, or maybe they're riding for someone else. But either way, we're just going to try and sit here. Should have used my energy gel earlier, but we're going to try and sit here towards the front of the peloton and see if we can't get a decent result. We're probably going to get at least a top 20 here. Let's open up the sprint. It's a kind of twisty final kilometer. Benny and Girmai is going to take the win. He's a very talented young Eritrean rider who probably honestly could be riding in the World Tour this season, but I think he's under contract with Nippo for a few more years. But good win for him. We grabbed 9th on the day, actually, just one spot ahead of our teammate Mauro Schmidt. So that's a better result than I was expecting. I think our team will be happy with the work, and then hopefully they'll also be happy that we got a top 10 and our teammate also got a top 10. But we'll see. I think we're very early on still in level 5, so I don't think we're anywhere too close to leveling up to the next step, but it's still a good result nonetheless, and they were quite happy with it. We got the exceptional rating for the work that we did, and they liked that we finished 9th, and Mauro Schmidt got 10th. So 37 more points in the bank brings us to 116 out of 250. So yeah, that's a very good outcome for the less important of the 2 races for the day. Alright, so we're now underway at the Classic Alpes Maritime. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but that's okay. We have a +1 race day condition, which is decent. We get the +2 to our mountain rating, which will be important today. But honestly, I was hoping for better, considering we're in the middle of our fitness peak, because this is our second objective of the season. So we peaked specifically for this race, but only got a +1 on it, which is a little disappointing. A nice +3 or +4 would have been very helpful today, I think. So our team actually wants us to ride as a teammate, which we're definitely not going to do. We're going to ride for ourselves today. But as you can see by the rider that I'm currently mousing it over, there's some big teams here. We've got Astana, Ineos, Sunweb, AG Desert, CCC, Bahrain, NTT, etc., etc. A couple French Pro Conti teams to go with all the World Tour teams that are here. And they brought some big riders as well. We got Chris Froome on the start list, 4-time Tour de France winner, Ivan Sosa, Andre Amador, Jan Izagirre is here. Chris Hamilton is another rider to keep an eye out on. Pierre Latour. There's a lot of really good riders and really good climbers on the start list. So winning this will be quite hard. It would be more attainable, I think, if we had like a +4 or +3 race day condition. Winning it with a +1 is going to be tough, but we're going to try our best. We definitely have the best chance out of anyone on our team to get a result. So we're not going to ride on the front and waste our energy. We're going to ride to try and get a result for ourselves. It's going to be very difficult given the opposition that we're up against, but we're going to do our best and see how we fare on some of these very large climbs against some of the best climbers in the game. And we've already crashed, so not a great start. Luckily, we've gotten back up and we're not hurt or anything, but that's not a good sign. Not how you want to start off the race. It is on a downhill also, luckily, so we shouldn't have too much trouble getting back in to the peloton. But yeah, just not the start you want. There's another crash too. So lots of riders crashing on this descent already before we get into the first real big climb of the day. We're rejoining the peloton now, but it's taken a fair amount of energy out of us. They're not waiting around for anything. They're riding this hard from the gun. So we're going to try and move up and position ourselves a little bit better in the field. But definitely not the ideal start to crash and then have to use energy to chase back on. So hopefully things settle down a little bit and we're just able to sit up towards the front of the main field over some of these descents and recover. But not off to the greatest start so far, but still time to turn it around. We're nearing the top of what is, I guess, the second of 4 major climbs on the day, and we're actually in a pretty good spot at the moment. The peloton is down to 62 riders. The World Tour teams like Sunweb, AG Desert, Ineos, etc. are doing pretty much all the pace making and chasing to bring the breakaway back. We have no teammates left in the peloton, which is a little bit of a problem, but it's a problem that I was anticipating coming into it. We've seen that our team isn't made up of the strongest climbers throughout the season so far, so kind of to be expected that we would be on our own at this point. The main worries that I have right now are stamina and resistance, basically. 200 kilometers is a long ways, and our resistance is only 65 with the +2 for the race day condition. So if the big guns decide to go hard from a long ways out, I think we're going to have trouble matching them over a long number of kilometers, basically. But if the pace sort of stays relatively relaxed, we can use the descents to recover. I think we have, with a 78 mountain rating, I think we have the climbing ability to stay with pretty much everyone in this race. Ivan Sosa, probably a pretty good bet to go for the win today from Ineos. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll know a lot more after we get over the penultimate climb. And we'll see whether teams like Ineos want to ride really hard up that climb to set things up for the final climb, or if it will be kind of like it is right now, relatively relaxed tempo. But now that we're on the descent, I'm going to go grab a water bottle since I have no teammates, and hopefully we'll be able to get back up to the front before that climb. The peloton is really getting whittled down now as we're on to the steepest section of the penultimate climb. We're down to 24, 29 now riders. Lilian Calmejean tried attacking earlier in the climb. He's been brought back. Ineos, Sunweb, and Astana are all setting pace for their respective leaders. We're running pretty low on energy, to be honest. I think we'll be able to survive up over the top of this climb, but when the attacks start flying on the final climb, I think we might have to just ride our own tempo instead of trying to respond to every move that goes off the front, and then we'll just see where that gets us in the end. But we'll sort of reassess after that descent to see how we're looking after we recover a little bit, because there's so few riders left in the race, 18 in the peloton now, that there's not going to be a lot of leaders with domestiques available. So we'll see what the tempo is like. There's still a breakaway up the road over a minute, but I would think that could be brought back if these teams want to bring it back. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, hang out near the front, hopefully survive up over this second to last climb, and then see what happens on the final climb. This really is an elite group of 14 now that's hitting the base of the final climb. Still 3 members of the breakaway, about a minute and 40 seconds up the road. Our nearest teammate is over 9 minutes behind us on the road, so we're really on our own at this point. There's still enough teammates for the World Tour riders, I think, to be setting the pace. Hopefully this group stays together for as long as possible, because I think once the attacks start, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. This final climb is really difficult, a lot of red, a lot of steep sections, but also that's not where the climbing ends, because there's a pretty significant rise up to the finish line as well. So we're going to just have to do our best to manage our energy and hopefully not go too deep and run out of energy. So we're going to have to try and be smart and conservative and not follow everything, because we don't really have a ton of yellow energy left to work with. So we're about halfway up the climb and the moves have started. Nans Peters, Ilan Izagirre, and Ivan Sosa all going on the attack there. I don't think we can go with that pace, so we're just going to ride at our tempo. These guys are basically out of gas too, so yeah, let's just ride at 65 for now. We'll see if we can get back up to this group of favorites, but we really don't have very much yellow energy at all, so We have Jan Hurt for company right now. Seems like we'll catch and pass a few other riders on our way up towards the top, but looks like the victory is going out the window at this point, because we just don't have the energy resources needed to stay with those big guns right now on this climb. But we could still get a very good result. Top 10 is definitely still possible, but I want to avoid going too deep here, so let's bump it down a couple to 63, and see how we go up to the top of this climb. So we're just about reaching the top of this final climb. Jan Hurt did a little bit of work. He seems to be sort of struggling now. Nico Roach is also has been willing to ride. So we're getting a little cooperation. There's 5 riders basically up the road that we're not going to be able to catch, but we could be looking at 6th place if we manage our energy well here. So let's keep relaying with these guys, and then it's basically just going to come down to this final little ramp, which seems to go up in 2 steps up to the finish line. I think everyone in this group, right now, except for Roche, seems to be struggling at least a little bit. So if that is the case, I think we've got a decent shot to grab 6th, but we'll see how it goes. I'm interested to see who actually is up in that front group. So it's Jan Izagirre, Chris Hamilton, and Nans Peters, with Ivan Sosa and Castro Viejo behind. So for all the strength that they had, Ineos seems to have actually missed the winning move in the end. And we're recovering a little bit of energy as we come on up to this final uphill. So let's put it back to effort cursor and see if we can't ride some of these guys off our wheel. Although Jan Hurt seems to still be riding with us. So back to relay. We're going to collaborate as much as possible. There was an attack, it looks like, in the group of favorites. Not sure which 2 riders went off the front, but we should find out soon enough, because they're at about 2 kilometers from the finish. We're still about 4 kilometers from the finish. We're going to use our energy gel maybe with 3 kilometers to go. And the leaders are now going into the final kilometer, so we'll get a winner shortly. Everyone in this group looks okay at this point. We're going to keep it on 75 relay. Nico Roach coming to the front as well now to work with us. And there goes a move from him. We weren't quite able to follow it, but let's open up our sprint as well. Jan Izagirre wins ahead of Nans Peters and Chris Hamilton. Ivan Sosa 4th, Jonathan Castro Viejo 5th. Nico Roche will take 6th, and I believe we will hang on for 7th, although Froome is coming quickly. Yeah. All right. So 7th for Andy Schleck. I think that's pretty decent considering the opposition we were up against. It's not the win that we had hoped for going into the race, but if you think about it, our best teammate is going to finish probably over 17 minutes behind us. So we had really no support in the closing kilometers. We had to do a lot of riding on our own. I think we rode pretty smartly to conserve energy and avoid blowing up on the final climb. And I think 7th is a pretty good result. I'm not sure what our team is going to think of it, because they wanted us to do 30 kilometers at the front and ride as a teammate, which I just wasn't going to do that, considering the course and the fact that it was our second objective. And of course, we also have no other teammate who's going to get a good result. So it basically came down to us, and I think that's good. If you look at the names around us, we definitely couldn't follow that move from Izagirre, Peters, and Hamilton. Sosa and Castro Viejo, both very good riders. Nico Roach sort of got the jump on us at the end there, but I don't think we had enough energy to go with him anyways. And then we beat the likes of Chris Froome, Pierre Latour, and Jan Hurt. So those are some big names finishing behind us. Gino Mater, winner in Kona as well. Robert Power. I think we can be happy with a 7th place, even though it wasn't the victory that we were kind of hoping for coming into the race. Alright, so here we go. 7th place. We finished 2 minutes and 7 seconds back of Jan Izagirre, who has 76 mountain ratings, so the same as us, but you look at his 79 resistance and 75 stamina. I think that's where the major difference was made. Yeah, we don't know all these guys' stats, but they're all 77 for Sosa. They're all sort of in that same range that we are, 75 for Froome. Just the big difference is their secondary attributes, because that sets us apart, really. It makes a big difference. So our second fastest teammate, Jan Maas, finished 94th in the end, 22 minutes and 47 seconds down. He was with us the longest. He actually got us a crucial bottle at one point in one of the earlier climbs, so he helped us out a fair amount. But I mean, it's not our teammates' faults. They're not really suited for this type of race, so we were on our own, but we expected to be, so not too upset about that. Let's see what our team thinks of it. So they weren't happy with the whole working at the front of the group thing. I don't know where that 1 kilometer came from. I don't remember doing that, but maybe we were at the head of the group when we caught the breakaway or something like that. They were happy with us finishing 7th, so we'll get an additional 18 points, which is pretty solid, I think. Yeah, so that's going to do it for the racing in this video. Just looking ahead, we've got, this is actually next month, but we've got the Flèche du Sud, a race that seems to be in Luxembourg, actually, so we'll do some racing in our home territory. I would guess this race will be important to the team. And then we've got Winston-Salem Cycling Classic, which is one in the United States. It says it's a flat course, but it's actually fairly punchy, and the opportunity to kind of make a late move and win it is there. So we've got some punchy racing to be done in the next couple of videos, and then we sort of get more towards the middle part of our season with nationals. The Mont Ventoux Challenge is going to be another big opportunity for us to get a decent result against some good competition. So we've got some exciting racing coming up for Andy. I would have loved to grab the win today in that second objective of the season, but once we got to the start list and saw the type of riders we were up against, I think 7th place is pretty strong. And who knows, maybe we'll find another race later on in the season with lots of climbing that doesn't have quite as stiff competition, and we'll be able to grab a win. But thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will be back next time with episode 11 as we continue on with Andy Schleck's first season as a pro.